All right, I'm just going to change the name here on this thing, and then we will get going.
I'd like to thank devotees for coming for this last session of Purva, Raga, and Venu, Gita. Yesterday's class, we heard some amazing imagery that inspires poetry and dance and song. And ultimately, I guess for the practitioner, amazing imagery for inspiring the progressive smarna life of, devotees who are aspiring for Rag Bhakti or the Bhakti of the Ragatmika devotees. And so I'm super duper excited for the imagery that we'll catch in today's class to inspire that progressive culture of Smarna. So much needed in the Sangha of Vaishnavas today. Thank you, Mukunda Prabhu, for inspiring us with that kata. And I'll leave you to it to inspire us in this way.
Dhanavad, I'm very thankful to you for giving me some engagement and remembering our Guru Varga's Harikatha, and also being in association with so many devotees whom I know and whom I don't know, but having the opportunity to do some seva in that way. So I'll do my Stavan Stuti first. Esi Guru Dinabandhu Ganada Swandana Datta Krunaya Kasindu Vrindavana Sinavatara Prasida Shirara Pranaya Prachara Ajanulambito Bujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamlaya Taksho Vishwambro Dvijavayo Yugadama Palo Vande Jagatpriyakaro Karuna Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Hemam Devachshavi Shundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rashapadaya Shri Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Kasturi Tilakam Lata Patale Vakshaneno Kostavam Nasagri Varmuktikam Karatane Venu Karakankanam Sava Angahari Chandanam Sulalitam Kanta Muktavali Vrajastrio Parivestito Vijayate Gopala Chudamani Ishi Shama Sundara Shikara Shekara Smirahasamili Manohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanari Supriya Charana Kinkaring Kuru Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tayavina Eti Vigyaira Detam Nayamam Charanantikam Yat Kinkareshu Bahusa Kalukakavani Nityaparasha Purusha Shishakandamuni Tashikadara Sanidev Sabanujas Tatkeli Kunja Bhavanangana Marjini Shama Vajhami Radha Ravinda Netram Smarami Radha Madhura Smitasham Vadhami Radha Karuna Varajam Tato Manasti Gati Nakapi Vakita Vahina Yaparada Lakshai Shiptascha Kamarita Rangavaje Kripamai Twang Sharanang Prapana Vrindi Namaste Charanara Vindam Kanakagaratro Nila Sobhagya Netro Mrigumaravara Balo Malati Kundamalo Tarlana Tarana Vesho Nilampitam Baresho Smaranini Britani Kunje Radhika Krishna Chandro Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaibhacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Praying for the causeless mercy of my Guru Parapadma, my Rupanuga Guru Varga, Nityalila Parveshtam Vishnu Paraparamangsa Stuta Sutta Sisima Chula Bhaktivedanta Nayan Goswami Maharaj, equally unto my Shiksha Gurus, Nityalila Parveshtam Vishnu Paraparamangsa Stuta Sutta Sisima Chula Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, and Nityalila Parveshtam Vishnu Paraparamangsa Stuta Sutta Sisima Chula Acharya Keshri Srila Bhakti Pragan Keshu Goswami Maharaj, and our entire Rupanuga Guru Varga. So we may have more persons on today, Jagannath, because my regular Sunday Zoom, they have merged in. So hopefully everything will be okay in terms of bandwidth or whatever. So we have come now to the last half. I didn't believe even that it may be possible to try to cover the 20 verses of Venu Gita. I explained yesterday that the commentaries on each verse are pretty voluminous. And so trying to take some synopsis of each of them and give an indication in each verse of some meaning was my objective. Also, due to my own lack of adhikar and capacity, I'm not able to give full expression as more advanced devotees would, but just by effort and by attempt, I'm praying for the blessings of the Vaishnavas that something will be benefited for all of us mutually. So we had gone through verses 1 through 10, and today we will go through 11 through 20, again with that same methodology of giving an indication of the rasa samagri and substance, which is embedded in each verse. And then a very special thing at the end I would like to describe before we open up for questions. So I'll try to be concise in everything, so we do leave room for that, especially this being the last iteration of this session, of our sessions here. So two things. One is that yesterday we discussed that so many gopis are present during the Sarit season and ultimately during the Sarit Ras Leela, which will come later on, some years later, that all these different gopis have different levels of the experience in Purva Raga. Of course, those like Srimati Radhika and Haswa Paksh, means our own group, they are experiencing the highest form of Mahabhav. On the very first class, I went through the iterations of Bhakti from Shraddha all the way to what is Maranakya Mahabhav. And on the kindness of Shri Jai Jagannath Prabhu, they have those recorded. So you can go back and you can check and you can hear those because they'll give an insight into some of the terminology and what we're talking about. So in that Madan Bhav of Srimati Radhika, there are two features which will become prominent, especially going forward, and some of which I explained yesterday were manifest in some of the verses. So Atishai Ayogyapi Prabalirsha Vidhayata. So this means Radhika's bhav, give me 1 second. So yesterday we began to explain that Radhika's mood becomes extremely high. And in the height of that mood, she expresses, as well as gopis in her swapaksh, express a mood of irsha. Prabal irsha means like a kind of jealousy or antagonism towards even inanimate objects. So the example was given in the verse describing their criticism of Shri Krishna's Venu, that this Venu has so much audacity that right in front of the gopis, who are the natural recipients of Krishna's Ada Amrit. Ada Amrit means Krishna's nectar that flows from his lips when he plays his flute. So Ada Amrit really also means Krishna's bhav or intention. So Krishna's bhav or intention is manifest in the Ada Amrit that enters the flute. That Ada Amrit then merges with nad, means sound, and travels in the ether, and I mentioned attacks the vulnerable ears of the gopis, enters their hearts, and then under the mystic power of Krishna, manifest his root, which was described in the verse, Parahapitam Natuvaravabu Kada Kanyo Kanikaram, etc. Understand? So Radhika expresses sort of jealousy towards that flute. Also Krishna's Vaijayanti Mala. Because that mala embraces Krishna from head to toe, Radhika expresses also some irsha towards that garland. Oh, you are so bold. You have no lajja. Lajja means shame. That you have no shyness or shame, that even openly in public, you're walking around embracing Krishna from head to toe. Us gopis also, this is our natural position to do so, but we do so in the confines of Nikunj. We don't openly go around displaying everything. Because in Madhurya Rasa, there are ingredients, just like I explained in Vatsalya Prem, there are certain ingredients, in Sakya Prem, there are certain ingredients. In Madhurya Rasa, Nirantara or social convention is prominent. We cannot violate Dharma. Durlabhata, difficulty in meeting is prominent. And one special thing is called prachana mukata. It means that your love has to be kept secret or hidden. Because it is paramor love or parakiya bhav, means that the lover and beloved, the beloveds are married to others. So sometimes it's also called paroda bhav, right? So Radhika and gopis are expressing here their mood of jealousy towards these things. But in each verse, we saw also that they displayed the symptom of prachana mukata, which is keeping everything secret, by avahita bhav. Avahit means to cover something. So avahit means to cover. So they would cover their mood by simultaneously mentioning others who are equally affected according to their own moods by the flute of Krishna. So the gopis in this way, they declare we cannot be held to account that we are also undergoing mental transformations after hearing Krishna's flute. After all, everyone, iti Venu ravanrajam sava bhuta manoharam. All persons have become manohar, bewildered by hearing the flute of Krishna. Why would we be subject to being any different? Understand? So in this way, they've displayed avahita bhav in many verses coming. Now, sada bhogi api tat ganda matra adaras stava adhaya. In Madan Bhav, the second part of a emotion in relation to things is the glorification of things that have gandamatra, means even a slight affiliation with Krishna. So in verses 11 going through 20, many examples of this will come up from Radhika's Maranakya Bhav, that those things which even have a slight connection with Krishna will be glorified. Stavadaya means, stav means to glorify, like in stav and stuti. Matra ganda means even a little bit of association with Krishna. And adaya means all the bhavs that are felt by Srimati Radhika as a result of seeing those kinds of incidents. So beginning with verse number 11, Danyasma muragha atayo api haranya ita jananda nandanam utpata vichitra vesham akanya venu ranitam saha Krishna sara pujam dadur virachitam pranaya avalokya he. So here, translation is given. Hold on one second. I'm going to weed through all the commentaries here. That Radhika and the gopis have now observed that the does which roam in the forest of Vrindavan, the deer and does which roam in the forest of Vrindavan along with their husbands, the Krishna Sara, that these does have now approached Krishna openly. So these does, when they heard the flute, because this is one of the qualities of deer. So deer naturally come to mind as living entities who become very affected by sound. Everyone knows that sometimes the example is given that the sense of hearing, very much like a deer when the deer is being hunted, are very susceptible. So because a deer, as soon as they hear any beautiful sound, they come attracted to that sound. So in the same way, the deer in Vrindavan, as soon as they hear the beauty of Krishna's flute song, they immediately also go to have the company of Krishna. So they're also saying, though, however, that these doa mudaghataya. Mudaghataya means they're not very intelligent because they're in the animal species. They only have so much intelligence, right? Their intelligence revolves around the accomplishment of their goals, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, etc. normally. But of course, in Braj and in the transcendental land of Vrindavan, these deers are empowered with the special bhavs of friendship mood in the case of the cows, Vatsalya mood in the case of the cows, Sakya bhav in the case of the calves. You understand? So even in Vrindavan, all of the animals are imbued with a particular kind of rasa, right? In Tattva Gata Vichar, we may say they have santaras, like the trees have santaras. But actually in Braj, there's no true dasya ras or santaras. Even Raptak and Patrak, the so-called servants of Krishna, Krishna has no money, Krishna has no job. So he cannot employ any servants. So the servants are actually the sevaks in the house of Nanda Baba. You understand? So there's Nanda Baba who's maintaining Raptak and Patrak, etc. So they're rendering service to Krishna, but they have some kind of mood of a mixture of a kind of dasya because they're related to Nanda Maharaj's seva in his home, but they have some sakya towards Krishna also. Similarly, all the animals in Braj, they have their various moods, which are the hallmark qualities of their association with Krishna. Like I mentioned, the cows, they feel motherly affection, calves feel some sakya, etc. Similarly, these deers, these does, female deers, they also have some kind of attraction towards Krishna, a female attraction towards Krishna. So when they saw Krishna, they are described as being mudaghatyaha, means they don't have intelligence to discriminate. It should be done secretly. They're doing openly. And also the Krishna Sara, which are their husbands, even in front of them, they're doing. So their mudha, their unintelligence is twofold. One is that they're doing openly in public, but also right in front of your husband, you'll do. Any lady who's involved in Parakiya Bhav, they know very well that everything must be kept very secret. So one meditates on their beloved internally, but externally never you will manifest any attraction. But here they see the deers openly manifesting this kind of attraction. But more amazingly, they saw that the Krishna Sara, the husbands of the deer, they were also interested in going to see Krishna. You understand? So now the gopis are headed by Radhika glorifying these deer, though they are mudha gatya, though they have some mudha, like not intelligence, we consider, though we are more intelligent, we're not as fortunate. So here they make the case, fortune of good birth and other things do not equal the fortune of even ignorance when it presents itself before the Lord. You understand? That even intelligence, good fortune in all kinds of ways can't compare to the fortune of having Krishna's association. So they're mentioning these deer are completely like role models for us. We can't do like this. We can't, before our husbands, go before Krishna. Also, their husbands are so fortunate. Our husbands, whose name is Durmada and Abhimanyu and other names, right? They have all these bad qualities. They cannot appreciate the beauty and charm of Krishna. Therefore, we have to go secretly in the night doing abhisar to obtain the association of Krishna. Or we have to go in the pretense of doing Surya Puja or collecting flowers or any other thing in order to have darshan of Krishna. But these deer are so fortunate, regardless of their material status, that they have the association of Krishna and their husbands are acquiescing also to this and following them. So this is the purport of verse number 11. So again, what is mentioned about the quality of Maranakya Mahabhav, which is Sadabhogi, in the enjoyment of that Mahabhav, it becomes so intense that Tat Gandha Matra, that they consider anything that has even small association with Krishna to be much greater than themselves. Krishnam Nirikshaya Vanotitsava Rupa Shilam. Krishna's form, Krishna's roop, is like an utsav. It is a festival. So just like everyone is attracted to going to wonderful festivals. If anybody's been in India and seen a marriage ceremony, then you know what I'm talking about, right? It doesn't matter the status of the family or anything else. If you'll go to be the most pomp circumstance ever, right? In regard to this, I don't want to sidetrack, but in regards to this, there's a very deep meaning in Shishashtakam to the fourth shlok. Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye. Very deep meaning to this shlok. Mahaprabhu, he wrote Shishashtakam early, actually, and he wrote it as a padati, not the full padati, but like an astakam of how to do bhajan, all based around Sri Harinam. But when he recited Shishashtakam in the Anchalila, it was after hearing the sonnet of Advaita Acharya telling him it's time to end your pastimes. At that time, from that day on, the mood of Radhika, when she observed Krishna leaving for Mathura, entered his heart in a deep way. So in the Gambhira, he spoke Shishashtakam with a different meaning. So in the fourth verse of Shishashtakam, we normally think, yes, for any sadhaka, aspiring for bhav, aspiring for perfection in bhakti, nadanam, najanam, nashundarim. I don't want any wealth, any followers. I don't want any beautiful mate, anything, or anything else that can be offered. I don't want. Only I want bhavatat bhakti ahoitiki. I only want this pure bhakti, right? Just like in the verse Anyabilasita Sunyam, etc. So this is all I want. But Mahaprabhu's intention in the mood of Radhika was, any young lady, the most auspicious day for that young lady, in which Jan and Sundarim will be present, is on which day? On the wedding day. You understand? On that day, so much done will be given. So many donations, gifts, everything. So much Jan, all family members, village members, everything. And also on that day, any lady will be most Sundari, means most beautiful. You understand? But Radhika saying, Nadanam, Najanam, Nashundarim, indicating I don't want this wedded love, I want this Parakiya Bhav. And even though this Parakiya Bhav is against religious convention or dharma, Mamma Janmani Janmani Ishwari, I'm willing to take birth again and again, meaning I don't even want moksha. You understand? Bhavatat bhakti hoitikvi, only I want this kind of Parakiya Bhav that I'm having with you, Krishna. You understand? So in the same way, because Krishna's form itself is like a festival, then those who see the form of Krishna, they become completely attracted. And when Krishna plays his Venu, only if one closes his eyes, immediately that form of Krishna appears. So for anyone who hears the flute, they've now gone to a festival. At a festival, your behavior is very different, right? There's kind of things that you would not normally do. I don't want to make it mundane, but anybody going back 20 years to your party iteration of your life, you acted out of character many times. You understand? So in the same way, looking at the Roop of Krishna, which was produced by the Udipan of Krishna's Venu, then everyone will act out of character. So again, the gopis are saying, please don't blame us. This is a natural and organic phenomenon that seeing the body and face of Krishna, which is itself an utsav, we are acting according to that inspiration. And then it says that what to speak, we just spoke, that those and Krishna Sara, they are deers. They are in the animal jat, in the category of animals, and they are not very intelligent. But listen, it is not only among them that this phenomenon takes place. The Devatas, they are considered to be the most elevated category within the 400,000 species of human existence. There's 8,400,000 species, 400,000 are considered to be within the human category, everything from the lowest level up to the Devatas and Siddhas, etc. So he says, but even among these Devatas, their wives have attained the position of being the Devis of Swarga because of their extreme piety, chastity, dharmapatya in their previous lives, everything. Dharmapatya means like the duty of any lady. So many ladies are emblematic of this. Kunti, the wife of Atrishi, what's her name? Anasuya Devi, Savitri. In history, so many high class of women have demonstrated this kind of virtue of chastity, etc., etc. So these Devis in the Swarga, they are fully imbued with this. Therefore, they're living in Swarga. However, when they hear the flute song of Krishna, even unwillingly, by swabhavik means, by natural means, their hair ties come unloose and their hair comes out. Their clothing, which is bound by any means, also loosens. So what to speak of even deers, don't say, if you wanted to make the argument, listen, even you may say the deer and the Krishna Sara doing this, but they're lowly animals. But you ladies are very chaste, responsible, born in Abhir caste, because in Braj, Abhir caste is prominent. Abhir caste, I don't know how to describe. Various kinds of marriages produce different kinds of caste. And Abhir caste is like a mixture of Brahmins and Vaishya class, something like that. So you're high class of persons. you cannot compare the activities of these deer in Krishna Sar to your behavior. Oh, well, if you give this argument, what of those who are Devis in Swarga, who are full of all kinds of chastity and piety? You've not seen that our clothing has become loose. We've not taken our hair out in public. But the Devis flying in their Viman, they just seeing the Utsav form of Krishna, the festival-like form of Krishna. Their hair ties have become loose and their clothing is also loosened. Their husbands are also on that Viman. So like the deer, like the does, who in front of the Krishna Sara have these reactions, even these ladies of the highest order of Dharma also have this. So don't criticize us gopis. Understand? The nature of Cupid is that he affects everyone. Cupid does not make distinction what jat you're in, what family you're in, etc., etc. Cupid is of such a nature, he's trying to attack everyone. And if Cupid will run out of arrows, he'll pick up stones and rocks and things. By any means, Cupid will attack you. This is the nature of Cupid. What to speak of that mundane Cupid? But that Vrindavane Aprakrita Navina Madan, Kam Beach, Kam Gayatri, Yanu Upasan. We're also doing worship of that very Cupid. What kind of Cupid? Vrindavane Aprakrita Navina Madan. In Ramananda Samvad, there's an explanation of Gayatri mantra is there. The Kam Gayatri mantra. And it's explained. Vrindavane Aprakrita Navina Madan. We're doing Kam Bij and the Kam Gayatri in Upasan to that very Apakrita Navina Madan. That Cupid, who is the ever-fresh form of the Anurag of the gopis, is our object of worship. And unlike that material Cupid who was burnt to ashes by only the tapasya of Mahadev, this Cupid rather burns the heart of those who become attracted to him by an insatiable desire to always have his association. And even in a moment of separation, they feel it to be like a kalpa or more. Shana Kalpata, one of the features of Ruda Mahabhav. You understand? So here they're addressing, if you give the argument that those and their husbands can go, but they're only animals, please explain to me by logic how even those who are considered to be the most dharmic, the Devatas and Devis of Swarga, also suffer these effects. Then they're saying, Gavascha Krishna Mukha Nirgata Venu Gita Piyusam Uttabita Karana Putahai Vivantyaha. So I say, listen, what happens is not something that has come about from our own endeavor. When I gave the class on the first day, we talked about anubhavs. Anubhavs are of two types. One is called udbhaswara. It means things which are done consciously. And sattvika vikars, which mean those things which happen automatically. They're not controlled by any application of intelligence. So now the gopis are pointing. Please look that if you see the cows, when they hear the sound of Krishna's flute, they're eating grass. The eating of grass is natural for any cow. We have so many cows here in Florida, lateral Florida, right? And anytime you pass them, very seldom you'll see them sitting around playing cards or anything. They're always absorbed in eating grass only. I've never seen anything else but them laying down and eating grass. So this is swabhavik for the cows. You understand? It's a swabhavik behavior. But when they hear the flute of Krishna, immediately the grass they've taken into their mouth stays there. They stop chewing and their ears only come up. So like us who've been attacked by our vulnerable sense, the ear, these cows have also been attacked and their natural behavior has changed. So now they're saying, listen, we gave one example of the does and cows. The does and Krishna Sada. We gave example of the highest clarity of humans, the Devas and Devis. Now, even in this Braj, I want you to see with your own eyes, because deer are not easily seen. If any deer will see any person, they run away. So they may challenge the gopis. Well, you may have seen this phenomenon, so be it. It's very rare. But everywhere there are cows. Nanda Maharaj has 9 lakh cows. Vishwabhanu Maharaj has 11 lakh cows. And you think the others don't have any cows? Everybody has cows. You see cows everywhere. And I'm telling that when the Venu Naad enters the ears of these cows, their natural swabhavic behavior changes. So why are you blaming us? They're eating grass. This is swabhavic for them. But they stop chewing even that grass and they don't move. And their calves, which are even younger, they come to take milk from the udder of the cow. But when the milk enters their mouth, it only is dripping down on the side because they also have become stunned by hearing this flute. So even if your experience is very rare with the doles and Krishnasara, and even if you say it is also rare to see devas and devis because only doing puja will you see devas and devis. It is a very rare thing. But here in this Braj, cows are everywhere. So we're making our case based on what you can see very easily. That the swabhavic behavior of our cows and calves, they immediately change upon coming in contact with Krishna's Venu not only. What to speak of coming in contact with Krishna Roop? You understand? This phenomenon was also seen in Brahma Vimohan Lila. It so bewildered Baladev that it took 4 different sections of unfoldment before he could understand what was happening. What led him to be clear about what was happening was when Krishna had assumed the form of all the calves. And even though the cows had given birth to new calves, when they were grazing and the calves were taking milk on the top of one hill, and all of the calves whom Krishna had now personified were at the bottom, the cows leaving the new calves ran to the bottom of the hill. You understand? So here it's showing that Krishna Roop in any form, right? When they have sense of it, even the cow's behavior changes. You understand? So they're building their case here. You understand? And this has all come in the Madan Bhav of Radhika, also expressing the idea of Gandhamatra, something having any distant association with Krishna, being very fortunate, because she's glorifying these Devis of Swarga, and their husbands are also very fortunate. The Krishna doe and Krishna sar are also very, the deer and the husbands are also very fortunate. These cows and the calves, they're also very fortunate. So our misfortune is that we don't have the ability to act as they act. Prayobatam vihaga munayo vaneshmin Krishne kshitam taruditam kalavenu gitam aruya ye druma bhujam ruchiera prabhalam Shinvanti milita drisho vigatanya vachaha. So now he says, how amazing. The birds in the forest, they must be different sages because they use their intelligence in such a way to obtain the perfection of Krishna's darshan. Sages spend their whole lives doing sadhan bhajan, doing everything to obtain this perfection of Krishna darshan. These birds, they also must be sages because in this forest of Vrindavan where there's so many things going on, they find a way to ascend to the branches of trees where they're always able to see from any angle of vision where Krishna is at that time. So these sages are very fortunate. We don't have this ability. We have to go through very much difficulty, Dulabhata, to exit our house under pretense, to find a location in which we can try to see Krishna's darshan. Other than that, we are only in the depth of our separation mood, able to see by bhav netra in our hearts. But to get the actual darshan of Krishna, we have to go through many difficulties. These birds are living a free life. So their moksha is more superior than Brahma Sayuja. This moksha is even superior to Sarshti, Samipya, Salokya, Sarupya, Vaikuntha. Because they've already glorified that Vaikuntha, like Vaikuntha's Janito, Vaikuntha's Janito, Varamadhapuri. It's already been described, both by the Gopis, Rupa Goswami, of course, Mukta Shamrit has mentioned that this Vrindavan is superior even to Vaikuntha. So these sages who've taken the form of birds, their moksha is even higher because they find a way to always get the darshan of Krishna by ascending to the highest branches of trees where they can always see him. When they hear the flute song of Krishna, another indication that they must be sages is that birds always, because in the animal kingdom, bhaya or fear, because there's natural qualities like ahadra, nidra, bhoya, maitunam, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So bhayanak is a consistent element of animal life. If you look at any animal, even insects, anywhere you look, they're always looking very cautiously around. If they're eating, they're looking, right? I know we were doing Harikatha in Columbus just recently, and we were very shocked because a whole group of deer came and just parked in the backyard of where we were speaking, right? And this is in spite of the kirtan and everything going on, they were just kind of parked out, right? So we thought, oh, this is a very auspicious sign, right? But normally this is not normal behavior. So birds are very quick if there's any noise, anything to fly from a place. But it appears that these birds have now closed their eyes and are only swaying, enchanted by the flute of Krishna. Understand? So even great sages go through so many transformations of taking different forms in order to get the darshan of Krishna, while you're blaming us gopis. So in this way, they've built their case so strong. There's like 10 pages of commentary on that verse. Okay. Drishyatape brajapashum shaharam gopahi sancharya yantam anuvenum udharyantam prema pravridha udita kushamava valibhi sakyor vyadhat swa vapusam buddha attapatram.
Prabhuji, I think there's one stuff before that about the rivers. Nadyas Tadat.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes that have all the commentaries, so it's like all jumped up here. Here we go. Nadyas Tadat Tat Upadharaya Mukunda Gitam Avrita Lakshita. Avrita Lakshita Manobhava Bhanga Vegaha. So all of the rivers, Nadya means rivers, at the time that they hear the flute, Uparya, first of all, normally we don't assess to running streams a kind of attention span because the stream is always moving. You understand? So they're beginning to build a case right away. Streams don't have an attention span because they're running water. So they're always in process of moving on, right? But somehow or another, the flow of the rivers moving is broken. Bhangavega means moving. Why avrita lakshita manobhav? Because when they hear Krishna's flute, a bhav also arises in their minds, manobhav. And when that bhav arises in their mind, their swabhavic nature also changes. So first of all, they become very attentive, which is unusual for the river. The river's always running, never stops for anything. But upon hearing the flute of Krishna, the river stops and tries to reverse course. So if a river is running one way and it tries to reverse course while the current's going one way, what will happen? They will stop and they'll create a whirlpool. So looking at the whirlpool of the rivers, Alingana Shtangitam Urmi Burjai Murari. So by the way that the flow has been broken, it appears that because of the whirlpools, they're attempting to embrace the player of that flute. This is the purport of what's here. So even the river, which everyone considers very holy, Jamuna Ji, Dandavat Pranam Jamuna Ji, everyone considers is very auspicious, very pure. But that Jamuna Ji, she's also, upon hearing the flute, breaking her natural behavior and attempting to embrace the flute player. So what to speak of us? We are very young girls. we've been bitten also by the sound of that flute. But still, even though we've been bitten by the sound of our flute, we've not lost our chastity. Right? Because nobody knows what gopis do. And this is also in Purva Raga, right? So they're saying, don't blame us for the effect of the flute. You understand? Because we've not demonstrated this behavior that we've pointed out in animals, devis. You understand? We've not done like this into sages. And now even into our sacred Jamunaji. We've not behaved like that. Then, but we consider our highest aspiration is to obtain the qualities like those who can go before Krishna, their husbands won't complain. Like the Devis, who will not lose, because it's explained in Ujjalina Mani that when it describes what is Raga, right? Dukkha adhikam chitte, shukya tvaina eva rajayate. Rajayate means to vyapt, it means to completely pervade something. So dukkha adhikam chitte. So when Jiva Goswami Pad and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur were describing the meaning here, they were saying that dukh here means not any kind of just physical pain, but the pain of dishonor. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, dishonor is worse than death. So for the gopis, questioning their chastity is more painful than standing on the rocks of Govardhan, or Radhika cooking on the chula in the morning to take food to Nandagam, and she's cooking on so many stoves in the blistering heat. None of that can compare to Jatila and Kutila questioning the chastity of Radhika. You understand? So this is the greatest kind of pain. But they don't care. Shuka Twaina Eva Rajayate. If there's even a slight chance that they'll see Krishna, they will risk that very deep kind of pain in order to accomplish it. You understand? So they're glorifying that all of these different examples that they've given are all kinds of animals, sages, chaste demigoddesses, and now even the sacred Jamuna, right? So all of these are doing that. Our behavior has not come under question. Alinga Shangitam Urami Bhurjaya Murari Krinanti Para Yugalam Kamala Aparaha. So also, the Jamunaji or any river, they're very happy that they not only want to embrace Krishna, but waves of their ecstasy come to a point where if Krishna is at Bangsi Bhat or anywhere on the bank of Jamuna, right? We're singing every day, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, right? And then Jamuna Tira Vanachari. One Krishna's favorite pastimes is roaming around on Jamuna, because on Jamuna, everybody comes there for something. So certainly gopis must be coming there as well. So Jamuna Tira Vanachari, on the bank of Jamuna, Krishna is always Vanachari. He's like living there practically. So Jamunaji is thinking, I will get the chance to embrace him, but if not actually, his lotus feet, being on the bank of Jamuna, she will come and embrace those lotus feet. So this is the purport here of this verse. So now 16. Driswatape Braja Pashun Saha Rama Gopi Sancharayantam Anuvenum Udharayantam Prema Pravrida Udita Kusamavalavihi Sakyor Vyadat Swa Vapusambhuda Atapatram. So it says, noticing that he along with Ram and the cowherds were grazing. So in the heat of the midday sun, Ram and Krishna and all cowherd boys are out grazing. At that time, a cloud, even in the sun, here's the sweet contradictory thing that happens. It is very sunny out, so no clouds. But at the time of seeing Ram and Krishna grazing their cows in that heat, a cloud will automatically come. And the cloud doesn't just come and provide cover for them. So even though there's no indication to call the cloud, the indication is the verse is that when Krishna plays his flute, even in the atmosphere by which the cloud should not come, the cloud has come. You understand? It's sunny. Therefore, they mention that they're grazing animals in the heat. But Krishna was playing his flute, standing near the back of the group. And out of love for its friend, Krishna, out of their friend, the clouds came and made a parasol. Parasol means like a umbrella, a covering. So it means that even these clouds that have this swabhavic nature, that under proper season or under proper conditions, like a rainstorm or anything, clouds appear. But even in the bright sun, out of love and affection for Krishna, when he plays his flute, the clouds come. But they don't come only as a cloud. But from their bodies, their ecstatic mood is manifest openly to the public by displaying so many flowers. You understand? So this is an unusual behavior for clouds. So two things are being pointed out. They're acting not according to their swabhav or their nature. They're also coming into a situation in which they should not come. Also, when they come into that situation, it is like if you go into somewhere you shouldn't be, you become very obvious. But if you go into some place you shouldn't be, you become obvious, and then you turn up, so to speak, in slang language, and you start doing things which are inappropriate. That makes it even worse. So here the cloud has come, and it's not the right time, not the right environment, and it's sprouting all of these flowers, which are unusual for a cloud. You understand? So this is the nature of everything. Iti Venu Ravam Rajam Sarva Bhuta Manoharam. Everyone is bewildered by Krishna's flute. So even a cloud in the sky, what category will you put the cloud? Nobody will chastise the clouds, because when it is very hot, we want a cloud. Certainly all Brijabasis want that if Krishna is in the heat, the cloud should come. So nobody can complain. You understand? So gopis are saying, listen, when this cloud comes and manifests its unusual behavior due to the flute of Krishna, no one complains. But if we go and we manifest our behavior, it will become the talk of the town and will be so criticized. Therefore, we wish that we also could be like the clouds. So in the next verse, they have described various categories. One was the doe or deers. One was the devis. One was the cows, right? Also, they describe these birds and trees I described. Then they also describe the rivers. And then finally, they describe the clouds. So now they want to describe something which is closer to their own category. So they're going to describe in local, what is this? In more lokik sat bandhuvat. Lokik sat bandhuvat means like ordinary human ladies. They want to give a description. I already mentioned that the status of the gopis belonging to Abhira caste, they're considered high class among Vaishya community. But also there are many others who live in the area who belong to Aboriginal tribes, etc., etc. And one is called Pulindi girls. So in this next verse, they're mentioning Purna Pulinda Urugaya Parabja Raga Shi Kunkumena Daita Stana Manditena. So here they're mentioning, listen, the Pulindi girls, they come every day to collect dung patties, cow dung patties, for making fire, for so many other uses. While they're roaming around, and they also look for remnants of things, like they may find flower garlands, or they may find other things. And they also use all of these things in the course of their social dynamic. So while they're looking for these things, and they look on the grass, and they see the kumkum, which is present there, they know it couldn't have gotten there organically, because grass does not grow with kumkum on it. Therefore, immediately by seeing the kumkum, for these Pulindi girls who have had contact with gopis, by Yavada Sraivriti, I mentioned on the first class, this is why that first class was so important. So Yavarashraya Vritti Asanata Janata Ritvalodhanam. It means the bhav of gopis enters the hearts of those who are nearby them and churns their hearts with a similar emotion. Understand? So this is the feature of Anurag. I gave the verse describing Anurag, Samsaveja Dasha Prapti Prakasita, Yavad Ashraya Vittis Chet, right? So this is what's happening. So these Pulindi girls now being overwhelmed by the vicarious bhav coming in their hearts, seeing the kumkum, it becomes udipan for smaraveg in them. But unlike the gopis, they don't have the same social restrictions. Therefore, they think with reckless abandon, let us take this kumkum, which is fallen, Shri Kumkumena Daita. So here, sadhus have said Shri here means especially Radhika. So the kumkum, which when Krishna is having Ras Vilas with gopis, sometimes they'll place Krishna's foot on their breast, and Krishna's foot will become covered by the kumkum present on their bodies. Then when Krishna walks in the grass, the remnants of that kumkum taken from the breast of gopis goes onto the grass. So now Shri Kumkumena Daita, from that most dear gopi of Krishna, this kumkum is here. They take that, and because Jahus Taradin, Taradin means smarave. It means the upsurge of calm has come in their bodies by seeing this Udipan. They resolve that or cure that by grabbing handfuls of that kumkum from the grass and smearing it all over their faces and all over their chest. So the gopis say, oh, by them taking and smearing on their face, one may think, oh, they're applying cosmetics. You understand? Because in Braj, everything is covered. You understand? So by smearing on their face, they're only thinking that, oh, they're making their face beautiful. But by smearing it on none of means like on their breast, on their chest area, it means that there's the burning of calm. You understand? This says these Pulindi girls, right? They are close to us because they're neither Devis, they're not animals, they're not birds, but they are very closely related to us in the human category. And they're behaving like this. So though our social status is different, we will give up this social status, just like Uddhav told. Arya Patam Chahitvam. I'll give up the whole thing to be an Aryan or any of these things in order to get the foot dust of these gopis as well. Asamaho Jusam. What is this verse? Asamaho Jusam. Somebody repeat this verse for me. Asamaho Chanarenu Jusamaham Syam. Vrindavane Kim Gumolatta Shodinam. Understand? Uddhav was also praying. I want to be any latta or any blade of grass in Vrindavan that I might get the foot dust of these gopis. And anybody who's done Braj Parikram, if you will go to Uddhav Kund, you'll see that Uddhav has taken birth so many times as blades of grass there. You understand? So they're saying, Tat Dashana Smara Rujastrina Rusitena, that when that Smarave came, they took that kumkum from the grass, Lampatya Anakuchesu, and they smeared it all over their face and all over their breast and the rest of their body in order to Jahus Taradin, to relieve them from the calm that arose from the Udipan of seeing the kumkum that had once been on the chest of Radhika and had been left there because Krishna's foot had touched the breast of Radhika and now it placed that kumkum on the grass. So because these girls are also human in quality like us, you understand? Though they are of a lower caste, we think that they're extremely fortunate. So what is the use? Just like Uddhav also said, Kim Brahma Janmabhir Anantakatara Sasya. Even to hear the Brahmar Gita, the Harikatha, spoken by Radhika in Dibyan Mad. What is the use of taking birth, even as Lord Brahma, if you don't get to hear that kind of katha? So they are glorifying the fortune of the Pulindi girls because they didn't allow Dharma and Lajja and all of these things to block them from obtaining their desire. Okay. I hope I don't miss a verse again. Are we at 18?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hantyam Adri is a very famous verse actually. Hantyam Adri Abhala Hari Dasavarya Yad Rama Krishna Charana Spasha Pramodaha Manam Tanoti Saha Go Ganayos Tayoryat Paniyam Suyavasa Kandra Kanda Mulahi. So here's a verse glorifying Sri Govardhan. Govardhan has been described. Prakriti Manasa Jatu Giriraj Govardhanaha. Govardhan itself is the manifestation of the heart of Srimati Radhika. It's described perhaps in Garga Samhita that when Krishna wanted to perform his pastimes here, that Radhika said, no, I don't want to leave this Nitya Golok Dham. He said, unless Giriraj, Jamunaji, all can come, I don't want to go. So Krishna should, yes, Govardhan certainly will come here. So then Krishna began to describe to her how this Govardhan had manifested. Because Radhika is thinking, oh, this Govardhan is so wonderful. So he says, you don't remember. You once approached me and asked me that always you tell me, oh, Radhe, I love you so much. But they never say directly because in true transcendental means, openly saying I love you is not apt. It's incorrect. You understand? So many other nice ways in Parokshvad means indirectly expressions of love are given. So he says, you always say so many things indicating you love me. You understand? But how will you show me you love me? So then Krishna, right? He manifested one small stone. And in his hand, he held this stone. And Radhika's looking like, oh, so my love is only equivalent to some small rock you have? Suddenly that stone began to grow and to grow and to grow. So Krishna's intention here was to show Radhika, oh no, Pahili Raga Nayanabangana Vela, Aduninam Avali Badhalana Gela. From the time that our eyes met, our love has grown daily. He wanted to show this. That kavya is from Ramananda Roy, but I'm using to describe Krishna's intention. He wanted to show my love is always growing for you every day. It has no limit. Because your anurag has no limit. Anurag makes the love increase more and more. Even if Radhika was with Krishna only in the previous night, she will tell to Lalita upon seeing Krishna walking for cow grazing, who is that boy? His charm is so amazing. Has that boy newly come to Braj? And Lalita will say, oh, Saki, Mugde. Mugde means, oh, bewildered Saki. You were just with him last night. And then Radhika says, don't tease me like this. Why are you so cruel? You understand? So this is the nature of Anurag. So Krishna is saying, every day, your love is growing in such a way. So then the stone began to grow more. As hearing this from Krishna, the stone is growing more and more and more. So Krishna puts it down. It continues to grow. And then Radhika and Krishna both start to become embarrassed. Because the nature of love is pratjanamokita. It should be kept hidden. But it was growing and growing and growing and growing. And then it grew to such a height, it manifested all of these golden peaks. So Krishna said, how will we stop this? So Krishna jumped and slapped Govardhan. Right? By the slap of Govardhan, it came from its trance of absorption. In Golok, one name for Govardhan is Saptashringa. Saptashringa means that mountain with 100 golden peaks. Those 100 golden peaks are representative of the glory of Radhika. You understand? Because it was asked to demonstrate how much Krishna loves her. So he showed like 108 golden peaks, right? 100 golden peaks. My love for you is growing like this. Understand? So this is one history of Giriraj. So now they're glorifying. Oh, Hantya means it's like, just like ai, alas, all these kind of words. They're in Sanskrit words of emotional expression. They don't have an actual meaning. They indicate an expression of the heart. Adri abala harida savarya. So they're saying, oh ladies, abhala here means it's a way to describe, just a synonym for speaking to our sakis. Harida savarya. That this Govardhan is harida savarya. Why? Because like us who want to serve Krishna with everything, our whole body, I mentioned the other day, Nija Anga Diya Sevan. The gopis have the ability to serve Krishna with their entire bodies in a conjugal way. No one else has this. So they're glorifying Govardhan because Govardhan very closely resembles this mood, right? They're saying Rama and Krishna, every day they come here. So why have they mentioned Balaram's name? Somebody remind me why they always bring this up.
Avahita Bhava.
Avahita Bhava. To cover their intentions, they're speaking that either Krishna Balaram or Krishna with cowherd boys, etc. So they're saying, Manam Tanoti, that Tanoti means expands in Sanskrit also. So it's translated here as extends or honors. But Manam Tanoti means expanding the glory of both Rama and Krishna and the cows and cowherd boys, but also of Govardhan himself, by the touch of the feet of Krishna, that they also covet for themselves. Then this Govardhan has become extremely pramod, blissful. And because Govardhan is pramod, so blissful, it's also providing so much happiness to Ram and Krishna. And the way it's doing that is it's giving everything, just like we try to give everything to Krishna, not us, I'm speaking gopis here. They serve with their whole bodies. Giriraj, by his water, by his grass, by his caves, by the roots, by everything in Govardhan, Govardhan is serving Krishna. So we consider among all of the things we previously mentioned that this Govardhan is Hari Dasavarya. It is the best of the servants of Hari. You understand? Because it so much emulates how we also feel we want to serve. We want to give everything, our whole bodies to Krishna. Govardhan has also given his whole body to Krishna. And Govardhan also serves Krishna inwardly by mood. Because if Krishna and gopis will be in Govardhan, will Govardhan maintain a male mood or not? No. Therefore, it's always questioned, is Giriraj male or female? Giriraj is also worshipped as Girirani. Because whenever gopis and Krishna are present in the caves of Govardhan, then any male mood in Govardhan is not present. Other than that, Radha and Krishna could not be comfortable to perform pastimes if male mood is there. You understand? So Giriraj also will adjust mood to accommodate the service of Radha and Krishna. Understand? This is one unique secret thing. This was a big discussion so many years ago, I remember, because some devotees, they actually do Sringhar to their Giriraj as Girirani. Some do as Giriraj, right? So I asked to my Guru Parapadma, he said, in sadhak stage, we should consider Hari Dasavarya. We should be anugatya to gopis and consider that Govardhan is Hari Dasavarya. How is Hari Dasavarya? We can consider all these things. But in our general upasana to Giriraj, if you have Giriraj, should be seen we're worshipping as Hari Dasavarya. So in this way, they say that Giriraj is providing everything for the pramod, for the complete happiness of Krishna. But we also want to do this. But by mentioning that Giriraj is doing also for cows and Baladev, then as Jai Jagannath Prabhu mentioned, in this way they've also expressed Avahita Bhava, the way to keep their mood covered. I'm trying to check the time so we don't go too long. Okay, we're getting close. Gagopi kar anuvanam natyo udhara Venu shvanaye kalapandas tanu britshu saktyaha aspandanam gatimatam pulakas tarunam nir yoga pasa krita lakshanayor vichitram. Oh, Sakis, we, when both of them, are recognized by Nir Yoga. In other words, they're carrying ropes for tending to the cows, are driving the cows with the cowherd boys from the forest to the next forest. There is marvel, because the sounds, which are the sweet tones of the exalted flute, become mobile. So basically, they're describing here that Krishna, when he's moving from one forest to another, that as he's moving, then seeing him, because now they're describing their ropes and other things they use to tend the cows. So seeing the beauty of this movement of the cows from one forest to another. How does that relate to the gopis' aspiration? Anybody have any idea? Krishna is moving his cows from one forest to another. How may this relate to gopis' aspirations?
Well, the gopis don't get to go with Krishna into the forest when he's herding the cows. So maybe they also have a desire to follow him as he goes through the different forests with the cows.
Yes, that's one idea. Anything else?
I would say too, they're mentioning the sweet music that's guiding the animals through the different forests as Krishna's playing his flute. So how the gopis are being called by the flute and kind of being dragged against their will sometimes by his music.
Yes, also one point. Anything else? One very major thing. Shri Krishna's Ras Leela is not just a dance. The Ras Leela contains many components. One main component of the Ras Leela is Van Vihar, going from one forest to another. You understand? Each forest presents a different Uripan and a different set of moods, right? For Krishna and the gopis to enjoy. So by speaking to the taking of the calves, cows from one forest to another, then they're describing their aspiration that during the Ras Leela, we will also do Van Vihar, and we with Krishna, which then Harishampabhu and Nanda both have good points there. They're showing that we also want to be with Krishna like this. But when they're doing Ras Leela, they'll go from one forest to another doing Van Vihar, enjoying the different moods of each forest. This is one of the features of Ras Leela. Noka Vihar, boat pastimes, Julian, the actual Ras, meaning the dance, Van Vihar, so many different pastimes. And among them, Van Vihar is very sweet because the forest, each forest presents a different mood of enjoyment for them. So the gopis are speaking to this. And the gopis are speaking now that Krishna is moving from one forest to another, and he's playing his flute. Anyone who's had doubt about what we're saying, if you are following the path of Krishna, you will see that the trees have now sprouted in Romanch. So many flowers have sprouted from them. So they're undergoing ecstatic symptoms. If you look at the creepers and shrubs, you'll see that they're all standing erect. You understand? If you will look at the stones that go along the path, you will see they've melted. So in this way, they're saying, if you follow Krishna, all what we're speaking, you can witness for yourself. So following behind Krishna, you will see the effect of his Venunad, his flute playing. So go to any forest in Braj after Krishna's been there and look at the atmosphere in that forest. It is completely ecstatic with the moods of all kinds of sattvic bhavs that manifest even in inanimate objects. Everything has changed its nature. Stones have melted. Trees are horripilating. The rivers are reaching up to try to touch Krishna. So this is the purport of this verse. Even though there's much more, because I just passed again about 10 pages of commentary here. Okay, in the last verse. Evam vida bhagavato yad vrindavana charinaha vanayanto mito gopyaha kriras tanmayatam yaho. Give me 1 second here. So it says, while describing to one another, while the gopis were describing these things to one another, in their bhav nature, watching Krishna wander through the forest of Vrindavan, the gopis completely became absorbed in him. They had avesh. So again, whenever there's deep avesh, then the voice chokes up and one is unable to speak. So here, it's indicating that by their deep attachment to Krishna, having spoken about Krishna in this way, they became so absorbed that they again entered into a deep place of associating with Krishna. So their Harikatha of Krishna produced association with him. Now in association, they cannot speak anymore. Thus, this Venu Gita has come to an end. So very quickly, something related to Venu Gita that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad manifested in one of his granthas. It is called Prem Samput. So in this Prem Samput, Krishna wanted to see what is the nature of praying. What is this love, especially of Radhika? Because in the position of Vishaya Jatya, he cannot completely understand Radhika's love. The first class, if you go back, I explained what is Ashraya, Vishaya, etc. So Krishna had the brilliant idea to dress himself completely as a woman. So dressing himself completely as a woman, he came to the house of Radhika. When Radhika saw walking near her house this beautiful Saki, because Krishna's beauty I described the other day, Lavanya Saram Asamudvam Ananya Siddhim. It is the essence of all kinds of beauty. So whether Krishna is in disguise, whether he's dressed in so many ornaments, whatever, his beauty has a way of exceeding just the roop of Krishna. It is the essence of beauty itself. So everything becomes beautiful as soon as Krishna is present. So Radhika saw, what is the beauty of that Saki? I've seen many beautiful girls, but nothing like this Saki. Oh, Lalita Visake, please go and bring that Saki. So Lalita and Vishaka went and they bought this Saki. That Saki then came into the presence of Radhika, and Lalita asked, oh Saki, where are you from and what is your name? The Saki didn't answer. So then Vishaka spoke, oh Saki, please don't be bashful in front of us. We are also like you. We are young girls who admire your beauty, and we only want to inquire about your whereabouts. So she still will not answer. So then Radhika spoke, oh Saki, is there anything wrong? Perhaps you have been chastised by your in-laws. I know this feeling. I have two of them, Jatila and my sister-in-law Kutila. I've also faced this. Or perhaps you've been married to some ugly and unworthy person. Or perhaps somehow or another, I'm making everything short here, you have become attracted also by that flute player. And in a desperate mood, you've been wandering in this forest of Braj looking for that flute player, having been disowned by your family and abandoned by your village. Oh, Saki, you should feel comfortable with us. We can empathize with you completely. And therefore, you should feel comfortable with us. Then Radhika asked again, please tell us your identity. That Saki did not say anything. Then Radhika said, I know what's going on. By the influence of all the things that have happened to you, you are now under emotional distress. But I've learned from one very great Kaviraj that if anyone is under distress, the best thing for them to do is to have massage. So at that point, Krishna took the dopata, the veil he was wearing, and covered his face because his smile then grew. You understand? And says, yes. So Lalita Visaka, you should prepare the Saki. I myself personally with my own hands will give massage. You understand? So then the Krishna in the form of that Saki moved away and began to, oh Saki, please don't be shy. I want to render this service to you. It is very good for you. So then, long story short, she told, listen, even the best of medicines cannot help that person who has been bitten by the snake of Shamsundar. And even the poison of that snake need not come from having direct contact. The nature of this flute is such that Shamasundar has put the poison in that flute and he's attacking young girls like us, even at great distance. Oh, Saki, we empathize with you very much. But please tell us for what reason you've come. So then that Saki spoke. Listen, the reason for my sadness, you have not touched it yet. But I can affirm to you that I was living in Swarga. And we in Swarga, as Devis, also heard that flute of Krishna. Hearing that flute of Krishna, I came to this Braj on Bulok. And one day, searching out the source of that flute, I came across the beauty of a wondrous Leela in which you, all of the gopis were dancing with Krishna and having so much vihar. At that time, my heart became very elated. And I thought, this is the wonder of this flute player and the love of this flute player. When that flute player left your company, I was mesmerized and I followed that flute player to see what other utsav or festival he would produce. Immediately I saw him go, leaving your kunj to the kunj of any other gopi. And when I saw that, my heart became completely broken. That this person whom I had put so much adar, regard for, so much affection for, turns out to be a cheater and a debauchee. Then she turned to Radhika and said, my reason that I came here is only to ask you why. You are so beautiful. You are the Siromani of all young girls, means the crest jewel of all young girls. For what reason do you tolerate this debauchee, lampat, who only seeks to break your heart with untruth and inappropriate behavior? Sometimes even dross. Dross means like audacious, bold. Even in front of you, he may sport in front of another gopi. Radhika told, normally, any person who has very deep love for their beloved, if they will only hear such words, it should break their heart into thousands of pieces and cause immediate enmity between the speaker of those words and the person. But somehow or another, hearing you speak this, my affection for you has grown. What kind of mystic power this is, I don't know. But I can attest that because you've come from Swaga, you're endowed with great power. First of all, you are Sumana. Sumana means you are so intelligent because among all the Devis of Swaga, only you were able to escape the atmosphere and come and search out that flute player. So Radhika then gave the name to this Saki, Sumana, because your intelligence is so great that you're able to leave that Swarga and understand the beauty of coming to this Braj and seeking out the flute player. But my Saki, only perhaps because of age, perhaps because of lack of experience, you are very ignorant of love. You don't know what is praying. The nature of praying, Savata Donksa Rahitam, Yarapi Donksa Karane, Yad Bhavana Bandhano, you know, Prema Parikirtita. Love means that even if the beloved breaks the person's heart, Savata Donksa Rahitam, that love cannot be broken. Yarapi Donksa Karane, even when there are many causes, that love does not become broken. Yad Bhava Bandhano, you know. Oh, Saki, rather the love becomes even stronger. This is the meaning of love. But Saki, I also understand the reason that you've not been able to understand this is because you've never directly experienced Shisham Sundar. So the massage that I offered you, the bathing, because Radhika also, I want to give you a bath in all kind of medicinal herbs. But that will pale in comparison to only the touch of the hand of Shamsundar. So I will now meditate and I'll bring Shamsundar here. Oh, Saki, I want you to have this direct experience. Then you can understand. So first, then Sumana asked, listen, you will try to bring that Shamsundar here to your in-laws' house? Radhika told, listen. No, I'm sorry, Lalita told, listen. Radhika, her love is so great that she doesn't fear Jatila, Kutila, Abhimanyu, or anyone else. Now she has this power to bring Krishna. So then Radhika began to meditate and she was softly chanting different names of Krishna. Oh Shamsundar, oh Gopala, oh Prananath, oh so many beautiful names of Krishna. At that time, Krishna, hearing Radhika speak these names, became overwhelmed. And immediately he began to automatically lose his disguise. So then Krishna thought, oh, I'm going to be exposed. So then Krishna took off the rest of the disguise and he sat there right in front of Radhika. So Radhika, when she came out of her vesh, because she didn't smell the aroma of Krishna fully, so she came out of her vesh, she saw Krishna sitting before her and she became very happy. All Sakis were also very happy because they saw Krishna. But then Radhika said, but where has Sumana gone? You understand? Where has Sumana gone? I brought you here because I wanted to offer to you one new Saki. Because Radhika's mood is also Adorja. Means she's magnificent. if you will read like Govinda Lila Amrita, Krishna Bhavanamrita, if Radhika will enjoy in her kunj, she will also tell Krishna, you should also now go to the kunj of Lalita, Visakha, etc., etc. So she told, I want you to offer the hand of this very new Saki, but I cannot find her. At that time, Krishna smiling very much, he said, I am that very Sumana. I only came to hear you glorify what is the real nature of love. Because, oh Radhika, only you can understand love. I am your student in the science of praying. I very much want to understand how to love. I'm only a disobedient disciple who is easily distracted and bewildered by so many things. So now I'm bragging that I've been Guru Drohi. Guru Drohi means like a disciple who's very insubordinate, very not appreciative of Guru. You understand? They're called Guru Drohi. So it says, in the manner of praying, I've been Guru Drohi. You understand? So now I've come only to beg the mercy at your lotus feet to teach me the science of real love. So like this, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also glorified the nature of the flute of Sri Krishna. So we should pray that even a spray of the Rasapancha Jai introduction in his Venu Gita, and the speaking of Shukdev Goswami, the commentaries of all of our acharyas and our Rupanuga Guru Varga, some spray of that should touch us. And if even a spray touches us and we can taste something better than being able to recite everything by heart, everything like, only to taste it will be very good. If someone can go and they can speak unlimitedly about the glories of farina, water, berries, sugar, etc., it will not be as excellent as one person who says, oh, I've had halabi before. Have you tasted it? You understand? So we will put our Harikatha to rest here and have time for questions, hopefully. Jai, my Dhanavad Pranam, Vanchakal Putru Vishcha, Kripasana Vivacha, Patitana Pavanavya, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Prabhu, I'm reminded of the verse, Srimad Bhagavatam Martanam, Aswado Rasaki Saha, Swajatya Shnigde, Sado Sangasvatopare, that one should taste the meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam and from in the association of a Rasik devotee who is himself tasting those meanings. And Rupa Goswami is defining that as the attainment of Sadhu Sangha. So, and hearing these Venu Gita classes, I feel that I've attained Sadhu Sangha. This is just very nice and inspiring. So I want to thank you for that. I do have a couple of questions. My first one is maybe a little bit more in a practical realm. How do we integrate the things that we've heard in this presentation into our progressive Smarna life? Today on Facebook, I kind of posed a question that came up in conversation today about, in a lot of our classes, we hear about things like the importance of gratitude and compassion and, humility. And, but we don't hear about how to develop our progressive Smarna life so much in our open classes. So I was curious, how do we integrate the things that we've heard here to help our Smarna development?
Well, two things. One is, first, we'll have to differentiate remembrance of Harikatha from Smaran. Because Smaran, Jiva Goswami Pads describes, Sudha Antakaras Chet Smaran. So first, Nama, what is it? Namam Pratamam Sudha Antakarans Chet Smaranam. So he mentioned in Bhakti Sandarbha that Smaran comes when the Antakaran means the Chitta has become soothed, some purified. Because then automatically from your Nam Bhajan, your hearing Harikatha, automatically without intellectual endeavor or kalpana being placed there, anything, then the remembrance of Krishna's Leela will come in the Chitta. But remembrance of Guru Varga's Harikatha is what we're doing now. So one way to increase the progressive march towards actual Smaran is to do Harikatha remembrance of the Harikatha, that because it's not a direct correlation, Smaran and remembrance. So the English word remembrance is not quite what Smaran is actually. So, but we want to do Harikatha remembrance, right? of our Guru Varga's Harikatha, what our acharyas have written, what we've heard physically from various sadhus, etc. We want to remember that, try to repeat it. So we're doing Shravan Kirtan, and then Smaran here will come organically as the actual thing, but the remembrance will remain consistent in the chitta. Just like if you hear a song from the date that you went on to high school prom, the whole high school prom will unfold in your chitta, right? It's just organic, right? Or if you hear some slogan from a TV commercial that you looked at when you were young, I don't know, things go better with Coke, right? You know, and this is why advertisements do this, right? Because they put it in your chitta. So then, you know, as soon as you hear that, the whole scene of that time in Coca-Cola bottles, everything appears in your chitta, right? So by hearing Harikatha, particularly trying to hear Harikatha in the mood like trying to understand something, because the generic kind of speaking in the absence of substance of our Acharya's teachings, and that happens because everybody's giving class, etc., everybody's at a different level of unfoldment, and there will be some times when people will give a class and they just don't have a data bank of necessarily Harikatha, the Acharyas, all this. So then they will speak according to what it is that's they're capable of speaking at the time. You understand? So we will appreciate and we'll extract from that, like a swan, we'll extract what things are relevant to promoting our growth. And we'll know that the conversation they brought up about traffic lights on the corner being a disturbance to the social order and perhaps having a social implication, right? We'll have to sweep that under the rug, right? You understand? And grab the things they mentioned about Krishna, Guru, Vaishnava, etc. You understand? If there is mutual encouragement, like I've heard your classes from many years ago, those kind of classes devotees can hear on a regular basis, right? Just in Ypsilanti and Ananda Prabhu and others, the level of questions they were asking is even rare. So another thing is, unfortunately, what has happened is that even at the end of a class, people have become timid around asking questions that will nourish answers that will help unfold. So people ask the same question. Oh, hi, Gurudev. How can I become more humble? Well, you can't until you actually start to realize something in bhakti. You understand? Paripokena Dhanisha Krishna Premaja Samrita. Humility is a sanchari bhav. So basically follow Vaishnav Sadachar etiquette. That's what we're capable of doing right now, right? Or, you know, or the tendency is in front of Gurudev. Oh, Gurudev, what if one devotee is always saying something about somebody else, something, you understand? So it does not leave space. And then when somebody finally raises their hand, like I heard really one time, I'll try to be brief. A devotee raised their hand, and this was in Europe somewhere, and asked one devotee a question who was giving class. At what stage does the practice of Raganuga Bhakti become a possibility? He was so heavily chastised for the question that I fear that devotee now will be intimidated to ever ask relevant questions again. You understand? So the way to have answered the question would have been to say, explain what is Raganuga, what is Vaidhi Bhakti, etc., and then say, at the time of appropriate adhikar, then naturally this will come into your purview. You understand? So the person has hope, aspirations. This is what I came for, and it is possible. But the person started talking about, you know, people who started thinking about Raganuga Bhakti and gave up their service and blooped. And so I was like, well, how will this be helpful to nourish anybody's sense of progress? You understand? So some of this is the abhiman or pride of trying to displace by what you're not familiar with, a filler, and at the same time a discouragement against people bringing up questions like that. So it's unfortunate. But the way to, per your question, is to have consistency of Harikatha at a high level, as the verse you quoted, which I think is number 61 or something in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu among the Angas of Bhakti, right? That Srimad Bhagavatam Artadam Rasiko Saha. In the association of Rasik Vaishnavas, or those who have Rasik aspiration and have heard from Rasik Vaishnavas, right? To hear Harikatha in that association. Because if no taste comes, people gradually, what is the use of doing this? 40 years, 30 years, it's drudgery to chant 16 rounds, right? And then everyday class, I'll just have to smile and, yeah, that was great. That was on time, Prabhu. That was really, really wonderful, right? You're not the body where everybody's going to die. You're suffering, right? Yeah, I'm completely ecstatic after that. You understand? Okay, I'm joking here. Let me stop. All right. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Did I fulfill everything there? Wait 1 second, and then
Yeah.
And I know that Bhakti Devi had a hand up, so I want to get to her, Ananda, then I will come. But Jai Jagalapu, did I answer? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
excellent,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Bhakti Devi, and then Ananda, I'll come right after.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mukunda, for bringing this so alive. It has been wonderful. And I do realize my low bank of knowledge regarding this matter, but I did a little research yesterday and was looking at some of the jargon that you're using, some of the Sanskrit that I wasn't familiar with. And in my research, a couple of things came up that I have noticed, that the fact that Radha was married, I find is somewhat glanced over quite a bit. There's not a lot of discussion about it. And I'm wondering, I'm wondering about her marriage. And I'm wondering, first of all, how old is she during this Leela? How old is Krishna and Radha during this Leela?
Well, Rasa Leela took place when Krishna was 8 years old. So if you count back to lifting Govardhan Hill at 7, then coming into Kaliya Damana Leela, which was between 5 and 6, right? You can kind of get an age. But now, here's the thing. Our acharyas have mentioned that even though those are the ages, that the actual mood is different. So in the Kaishore age, it means like the stage at which these kind of things are going on, they are like teenagers. Krishna never passes the age of 16, but that 16 is not like the 16-year-old down the block, obviously, right? So there's a certain kind of present, because in the spiritual world, na cha kala vikramaha, time doesn't have an influence. So really the ages in terms of what looks like in years can't calculate the nature of the moods and the bhavs that are expressed, if I make sense there.
Yes, it does.
But they're relatively young, so there's an innocence there as well.
Right. And I guess that's why it looks like they're always depicted as adolescents, actually,
Yes.
in all the photos. So can you tell us a little bit about her marriage to Abhimanyu? I mean, it's Abhimanyu, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, in some of the commentary I was looking at yesterday, it was like, they don't even want to talk about it because, like, what's the point? Or that her marriage was irrelevant, or that her marriage meant nothing to her.
Mm-hmm. Well, to champion the cause of Radha Dasis, Abhimanyu literally means, let's take it into the realm of Tattva, right? Because then it'll be a little easier to digest. So in Tattvagata Vichar, Abhimanyu is not really a different person from Krishna. He is the Abhiman of a husband in order to give substance to the idea of Paramo love. So an Abhiman means like a self-conception or conception. He's actually the shadow of Krishna himself, right? Another way to look at it, which is what Jiva Goswami has done, which is why some say he deferred to Swakyabad, means wedded love, which he didn't, right? Except in some ways, right? The marriage of all of the gopis took place, or was promised to take place, in the same year that Krishna performed one Leela called the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So when all of the calves and cows were stolen by Brahma, Krishna himself replaced them all with his own self. So in that year, all the gopis were promised to be married. They weren't moved to the in-laws, but they were promised. So in one sense, we could say that all the gopis actually married only to Krishna. One way to look at it. So, and of course, also I just mentioned Abhimanyu is just a conception. In the eternal spiritual world, there is no Abhimanyu. Only the idea of an Abhimanyu is there. When Krishna performs his pastimes in the material world, right, at that point, the Abhiman takes a form called Abhimanyu. Understand? So Radhika's marriage is a servant to the mood called Parakya Bhav, because in Paramore love, there are certainly ingredients that don't exist in wedded love. So our acharyas have looked at that and said, in wedded love, like Krishna's marriage to the queens in Dwarka, because there is a division, because in wedded love, it obviously means having children, etc. So for instance, the queens in Dwarka each have 10 sons and a daughter. So that means their love axiomatically is divided in 11 ways, right? 12 ways. The husband, 10 sons and a daughter. So the acharyas give a term to this. It is called samanjasa. Samanjasa means that they cannot say it has the capability to fully control Krishna and conquer Krishna. But the gopis have a love which is called samartha. Samartha means it has the capacity, because they give up everything to accomplish this love, right? Krishna makes one statement, Yo mabajan durjaya geha shrinkala samvishta. You have given everything. You've given up the dharma of being wedded ladies. You've given up your families. You've given up dharma, which means no hope of being liberated or anything, all to love me. Therefore, tatva parayatu sadhuna. Your love is your own reciprocation. Because remember, Krishna, speaking from the point of view of being God, has said, I can reciprocate with anyone. Whatever you offer to me, I can reciprocate with that. But when he spoke this to the gopis, he said, I have no way to reciprocate this kind of love. So it indicates the superiority of a love in which a person gives up even the dharma of wedded love to have that beloved. Now, in the material world, that's the most abominable thing. So we cannot make a conflation between that happening here and the spiritual world. If I decide to come in one day and tell my good wife, I've met some other gopis, she will promptly pack my bags and set them outside so that I can go and completely have the association of those other gopis. Understand? So that does not fly in the material world, right? So we can't conflate the two things. So we have to remember that in the spiritual paradigm, we're dealing with Krishna, that same person who's the supreme personality of Godhead, right? In the most intimate form of his Leela, he's giving expression to love, which has the ability to come to a zenith or a height, inclusive of elements that don't exist in wedded love. There's an excitement in Paramore love that's not in wedded love. That's one of the elements of, even in the mundane world, why it happens to people. The excitement of, oh, this is like illicit. You understand? But in the case of God, he's the personification of Dharma. He displayed that in Ram Leela. In Krishna Leela, he said, okay, all Dharma, Dharma prajita kaitabatra. All Dharma, which doesn't support the superiority of Janma Adi Ras, is kicked out of Bhagavatam. So all Dharma is only to support the love of Krishna. And then Krishna himself, realizing the beauty of that love, comes as Mahaprabhu himself to taste it. So here we're in the paradigm of transcendent love. But in the material world, we'll have to follow Dharma. So my wife is sitting on the couch, and I was saying all of that to make sure that I could have pancakes after this class. Okay, I'm only kidding. Stop. All right. Ananda, did you ask your question? Hold on one second, Ananda Prabhu.
Yeah, Purva, I have two little questions. One is just kind of related to your answer that you just gave to Bhakti Devi. And it's not so directly related to class, it's related to your answer. It's just a curiosity that I've had, because in that year, Brahma Vimohan Leela, you said that all of the expansions of the cowherd boys that Krishna had become, they were promised in marriage to different gopis. What about Krishna himself? Was he married? Or if not, why was he not promised in marriage that year?
Because when Purnamasi realized that there would be an interference to Parakya Bhav, she called Gargacharya. Gargacharya came and he gave an analysis in a meeting with Nanda Baba and all the cowherd men, that because in the future he could see there was going to be many things that Krishna had to do, which would be dangerous and so forth and so on. it would not be a good idea. Purnamasi told this to Gargacharya to do it. It would not be a good idea for Krishna to marry the gopis. So even though the gopis all had aspiration to marry Krishna, right? They became promised to other gopis in that Brahma Vimohan Lila because of this. So in this way, Parakiya Bhav was saved. 1 second, Chutananda. But in Gopal Champu, to satisfy this desire, Jiva Goswami explains that after killing Dantavakra, Krishna came back to Braj. At that time, it was declared, oh, Krishna's returned. So now the gopis, because after Krishna left to go to Mathura, the gopis left their home. They stayed at Uddhavkari for 90 days, then went to Nandagan, right? So when Krishna came back now, they said, well, why can't the gopis marry Krishna? So the argument came up, no, they're still married ladies. All these things have taken place. Even their husbands empathize with them at the time due to separation, but they're still married ladies. Then Yogamaya revealed a big reveal. They're not married. On the day that they would be taken to the home of their in-laws, I told the fathers, because of extreme pain, that I would take them and deliver them. Rather than take them and deliver them to their in-laws, I made duplicates. I delivered the duplicates to the in-laws, and these other gopis only lived in the Abhiman, in a prakost of the Abhiman of being married. Therefore, they never had any children, never were touched by any husbands or anything. So then everybody said, well, prove it. How will we prove this? It's a great statement. And O Purnamasi Devi, we have great faith in your words as being Satyavrat, means always truthful. So she said, we can prove it in the same way that I performed this pastime previously. I previously had, when Sita was kidnapped, also arranged that Ram would be inspired to do a Sita Pariksha, right? To test the chastity of Sita by walking through fire. Just as Purnamasi said this, Durvasa Muni came. Durvas means Durvas, the person in whom very difficult services reside, because he's always at the forefront of any kind of difficult service. Like when the Brisni dynasty was cursed, many people say when Samba approached the sages, it was Durvasa who pronounced the curse, though many sages were there. So Durvas means like how to demonstrate the effect of Vaishnava Aparad. Durvas has to do it. You understand? So he has very difficult services. So he appeared and said, listen, these gopis are the highest class of chastity. The Pariksha, Agni Pariksha of Sita Devi cannot be compared. They should go to the Pariksha by going through the fire of my tapasya. And he manifested from his body a great fire. When the gopis walked through that fire, they divided into two groups. The effulgence of the original gopis was apparent and the duplicates were apparent. So then all of the residents abroad said, hey, Haribo, Haribo. So now they can become married. So now, of course, in Gopal Champu near the inn, actually Krishna marries the gopis, including Radhika. And they're living happily, quote, but not ever after. Because Radhika's sitting in her married home one day. And sitting in her married home, she thinks, Ya Kumara Harasa Evihi Varaste Chaitra Sapas. The verse that was recited by Mahaprabhu at Rath Yatra, she recites this verse. Therefore, though the verse appears in Sahita Darpan and in Kavya Prakash, actually the genesis of the verse, Jiva Goswami says, is from the heart of Radhika. You understand? And immediately when she said that, Yogamaya closed the curtain of the Swakya Vad and Parakiya Bhav, which is the essence of Braj Bhav, remanifests. This is in the end of Gopal Champu.
Wow.
So,
One little question.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, one little question was, and I think you had said this yesterday, that because every verse of the Venu Gita, it sounded kind of like an argument gopis were making. Oh, if you think this, and they are giving kind of counter arguments as to their nature, their behavior. I think you had said yesterday they were arguing just with their own minds.
Among each other, they're having discussion, right? And also in their own minds, these bhavs have arisen. Not all gopis also feeling same bhav. The Maranakya Mahabhav of Radhika is producing one mood. Those who are Sadhana Siddha gopis, they're in Purva Rag, growing through the stages to Anurag. Radhika and all who already have Mahabhav, they're experiencing something different. But mutually, the expression's given in this Purva Rag. You understand? But all are not experiencing it exactly the same way. Therefore, the commentators, if you read the commentaries, they say, Parvati, I'm also coming after Chutananda. So they're saying sometimes one gopi speaking, sometime a different gopi speaking, not always same gopi speaking.
Huh.
Achyutanand Prabhu. Anybody who
Okay,
does
I
not
just
know, hold on one second, Achyutananda. Achyutananda Prabhu is
read-
that Achyutananda who is one of the original disciples of our Srila Prabhupada. So he's been very kind. He lives here in Alachua, and he's been very kind to me in so many different ways. So he comes on regularly to our Sunday class, and he does classes himself and everything. So we are very fortunate to having his darshan. He's also seen the lotus feet of many of the direct disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Achyutananda Prabhu?
number one is that I had a quick Lavamatra darshan of Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj in Mathura in the last year of his life. But I just read a transcript of a morning walk by Gurudev about the Brahma Vimohan Leela. And this really answers this question. Yogamaya hides Krishna's eternal associates. This is all in the Boma Leela, but she hides. Brahma cannot touch them.
Yes.
So the same Yogamaya becomes Mahamaya for Brahma to hide those boys in the cave for 1 year. Just as Yogamaya appears as Durga to Kamsa, as Sita is made, a false Sita is made for Ravana. So sometimes these are there's one Yogamaya, but when she has to handle material things, she's Mahamaya.
Yes. Yeah, because
Yeah,
Krishna.
so see, I can send that article
Yes. So
to
also
everybody.
at the end of that 1 year, Krishna, when he left, when all of this started, he had left a picnic with the cowherd boys. And when he returned after 1 year, Subala person said, "Oh, that quickly you've done everything?" So that prakost under which he was with the cowherd boys, only 1 minute had passed. Understand? The whole Brahma Vimohan Leela took only 1 minute in the prakost of the cowherd boys. Because he told them, you should go ahead and take your lunch. I'm going to search for the cows when they disappeared, when they started to wander off, and that whole Brahma Vimohan Leela took place. But when he returned to that spot, Subal was saying, "Oh, you've come back so quickly. Only 1 minute has passed." Okay, Parvati?
So my question also is, what happens to those cows and cowherd boys that Brahma hidden? Do they eventually become devotees?
I've not read anything. I have not read anything. I
I've
think
never
that they
read.
were manifest by the Maya Shakti. You understand? So perhaps they were only illusory, but I've not read and I won't directly. If somebody else knows, they can chime in. But Parvati?
Dhanavas pranams,
Also,
Prabhu.
Parvati Didi is the one who hosts our regular Sunday class every Sunday. So I'm really begging her forgiveness because I've had to do many different things at different times, removing that, not having that class. Usually we start 11:15, but I think from now on, we're starting at 10. But anyway, go ahead, Parvati.
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanavats. Something that you said about the difference in what's happening in the material world and what's happening in the spiritual world, it really resonates with me, and I have some more questions about it. And you also asked the question about Krishna's Nira Yoga Pasha. And Jiva Goswami says that doesn't exist in the spiritual world. I thought that was very interesting. And then I think in the 18th chapter, Shri Gurudev explains that there's no need for the ropes because the cows are, they are well managed. And he additionally explained that the symbolism of Krishna's Nir Yoga Pash is really a representation of how he binds in his love for the gopis.
Yes, very nice.
So I thought that was just so sweet.
Very nice.
And when you really think about it, Shri Gurudev also explains that it's really a decoration that Krishna and the gopas, they decorate their heads with this yellow garment that is really just a costume. It's really just decorations for the human pastimes. And I thought that was just really wonderful. And it just really sparked this wanting to know more about the difference in what occurs in the material world compared to what happens in the spiritual world. Can you kind of elucidate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, there are many things that take place in the Prakat Lila that don't take place in the Nitya Lila. For instance, there are no demons in the Nitya Lila. And also, there is no Mathura Dwarka Gaman, means Krishna does not leave and go to Mathura and Dwarka in the Nitya Lila. Also, there is no birth of Krishna in the Nitya Lila. Only the Abhiman that Krishna has been born. You understand? So many features are there. But this is also one of the reasons why Krishna performs pastimes in the Prakat Lila. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's one verse there that says, Swamsa Vibhinamsa Rupahana Vishtar Ananta Vaikunte Brahmananda Karen Vihar. That Krishna performs unlimited pastimes, not only in the Vaikuntas, meaning in the Nitya Lila, but also in the Brahmanandas here. One of the reasons is because there are many unique features in the Shristi Lila when Krishna comes here and performs pastimes, right, that are unique, like Sudur Pravas. It's an Abhiman in the Nitya Dham, but here it takes shape. So Sudur Pravas means, I think yesterday we discussed right before class that there are 4 kinds of separation and 4 kinds of meeting. So from Purva Raga comes Sankship Sambhog. It means when the gopis and Krishna meet after Purva Raga, the meeting is very first date-ish, if that's a good way to describe it. There's a lot of etiquette, there's very much shyness and other sort of things which are elements of that meeting. Then Man, after Man comes Sankirna Sambhog. It means the meeting is contracted. One way to explain that is if any husband and wife have an argument, right? And then the husband goes out for air, comes back in, even though the tension has gone down, if the husband will say, Haribol, Patni, what's for dinner? Well, whatever for dinner is in the refrigerator. You understand? So even though the atmosphere is not tense like before, still there's some contraction of their praying. It's called Sankirna Sambhog. When Krishna goes for Gocharan, it is called Pravas. And when Krishna returns from that, it is called Sampana Sambhog, enriched meeting, right? When Krishna goes to Mathura and then to Dwarka, and he stays for a long time, and he has the control of others, he can't just leave. This is called Sudur Pravas. The meeting that takes place after that, like at Kurukshetra, is called Samriddhiman Sambhog. So this Sudur Pravas takes place in this Prakat Lila in a manifest way. Understand? So it's a very special thing and gives rise to very special feelings of separation and so forth, so on. So there are many unique things in the Prakat Lila, why Krishna performs past. I asked you, Gurudev, right in front of my house here, walking once. No, somebody asked a question and we quoted these verses and Gurudev was very happy. Why Krishna needs to come here to perform pastimes. Of course, the Shristi Lila is also to allow the jivas in this world, Vikridam Rajavada Viridam Cha Vishnu, right? And then the third line is Bhajate Tajasi, Tajasi Bhajate Kritva, Yat Shrutva Tat Purovavet. That if anybody will hear these Leelas that have been performed here, then they have the opportunity to then get Shraddha and move towards Bhakti. So Krishna's Prakat Lila is also very important. But they're very sweet nuances, just like in Gurudev's Venu Gita, from what you're describing, the commentary of Jiva Goswami, that the Niyog Pas, right, that they are meant to control this is normal in Lokik Leela. You'll see cow herders, they have a stick and then they have a rope, etc. So it's a normal tools of cow herders. In the spiritual world, not necessary. Though even in Nitya Golok, he may manifest, but it's not the norm. Now, I'm saying in the chat, I can't see the chat. So those who are trying, either Jai Jagannath can say who's asking a question in the chat, or people can just unmute or raise your hand because I can't see it.
There's only one. Harishan has a question,
Mukunda.
so he can speak it.
Harishan Prabhu?
Prabhu, so 2 things. One, I was wondering if maybe later I can send you this article where Srila Shiv Ram Raj is arguing that there are demons in Golok, in Golok Vrindavan. There you go, that article as well.
Sorry,
Oh,
hold on.
oh, Chitananda
I'll take care
Prabhu?
of that.
Yeah, you can mute him or yes, mute him.
Yeah, I can mute him. I got it.
Prabhu?
All right. There we
Okay.
go.
Go ahead, Prabhuji.
This was a question that came up in a recent discussion we had with another devotee, and I brought up the Kutila and Jatila are also like the demons, whereas it's a conception that exists in the eternal spiritual world. They don't actually exist. And this devotee wasn't able to give a solid answer to the Jatila and Kutila question, but he did say that there are demons in Goloka, and he gave me this article from Shiv Ram Raj, and I would love to hear your reflections on it. But that's not my real question. My real question
First, though.
on it though. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me address that first. I have not seen in the writings of any of the acharyas that demons exist in the spiritual world except as an abhiman. Like in Gopal Champu when Madhu Kanta and Snigdha Kanta reciting, their Harikatha gives upsurge of a prakosh in the hearts of those who are hearing the Harikatha, and they have the experience of Krishna killing a Putana, Trinavarta, etc. Jatila and Kutila and Abhimanyu also by description related to the Radha and Krishna's Vilas, when they're describing it, it appears there in a prakosh in which they're having experience of it. That's why at the end of their Harikatha, Madhukanta and Snigdha Kanta will always caveat everything by saying, oh, but your Lala is sitting right next to you. And their Harikatha sessions are generally sometimes in two versions, one in the General Assembly and one exclusively to gopis. And at the end of the Harikatha, they'll always say, but your Krishna is just next to you. You understand? Or something like that. So there's an abhiman of these things in the spiritual world, but not the actualities. If no abhiman is there, then the moods of Parakya could not exist. Because Jatila, Kutila, Abhimanyu, they're the bases that create Dulabhata, what are the elements of Parakya Bhav. So they exist as an abhiman, just not in form. Okay, next thing.
Interesting. Yeah, that was also always my understanding. But I'll share this article with you anyways, because he quotes a lot of things from Srila Sanatana Goswami, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and then some quotes from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, and I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on it. But my question is, when you were describing the last verse of the Venu Gita, and you were describing how the gopis, now having discussed the effect of Krishna's flute on these different entities, have had avesh with Krishna, and so as a result of that absorption are unable to continue speaking, it brought up a question I've always had, which is, in Boma Vrindavan, Krishna leaves Vrindavan to go to Mathura, but Srila Prabhupada points out in Krishna book that he stays in Vrindavan in a bhav swarup, right? And then of course, there's so much written by the Acharya saying that Krishna never steps even a foot out of Vrindavan, and all seemingly in Dwarka, he was always giving spurtis of himself to the gopis in Braj. So I guess my question is, what exactly is the tattva when Akrura comes and takes Krishna, and we hear sometimes that at the border of Braj and Mathura, Vasudeva Krishna continued with Akrura onwards, and then Braj Krishna returned back to Vrindavan, but there is a separation. There is a separation in Vrindavan for Krishna having left. So is it that he stays in Braj in a bhav swarup, but he's actually in Dwarka and the gopis are having darshan of him? Like when they sing the Venu Gita, they have this avesh with Krishna and Saru, Nanda and Yashoda? Or is it that he leaves Braj in Boma Vrindavan with Akrura, but he then returns very quickly afterwards? What exactly is the tattva?
So I can only speak from the commentary of our acharyas, and they've given various nuances to this statement that Krishna never takes one step out of Vrindavan. First and foremost, Braj is a bhav, it's not a locale, right? To prove this, during the night of Ras Leela, Sarid Ras Leela, billions of gopis were there. If you've been to Braj and you've been to Vamsivat, could even thousands of people fit there? So Braj is a bhav that expands and contracts to accommodate the Leela. In the same way, the Virohe Leela means the Leelas in which Krishna is absent, because you have to have separation. Na vina vipralambena sambo Krishna ashtate. Sambhog is nourished by Vipralamba. So there must be Vipralamba. Just like the first verse of Bhagavatam, Janmajyasya yatahat anvayat itaratas cha arteshu abhigyasarat. Anvayat and itara means separation and meeting. That's what it actually means. Directly, indirectly means separation and meeting. So that separation must be there. So what is Mathura and what is Dwarka? They're only the Virohe Prakash of Braj. They're not separate places. This is one angle of vision of our acharyas. It's like in your house, you have different rooms. So somebody could say that you never take one step out of your house, right? But still you may be absent from the vision of other family members when you go into a different room. So in the house of the Bhav of Prem, Mathura and Dwarka are only Virohe Prakash. It means they are manifestations of the mood of separation. Without Vrindavan, would there be any meaning to Mathura and Dwarka? You understand? Actually, what is the meaning of Dwarka? I went to Dwarka one year against Ayendra's better judgment. Every time I come to Vrindavan and I want to travel somewhere, like I said, one year I'm going to South India to follow the path of Mahaprabhu, Ayendra would always look at me like, really? Right? And one year I went to Dwarka and he did the same thing. And he just patted me on the back like he'll learn. Something like that. Anyways, so I went to Dwarka and the Pujari in Dwarkadish temple, he's giving description. We have a little group that says, Dwarka means Dwara Kaha. From which place has this Dwara come? Dwara Kaha. So Gopal Champu states that when Krishna was in Mathura, Krishna was very worried about the attacks, especially of Jarasandha, because Jarasandha was the father-in-law of Kamsa. And after killing Kamsa, they had great fear because Jarasandha was so powerful that he's one of the demons that actually Kamsa could not bring under his control. So to make an alliance with him, he married the daughters, Asti and Prapti. You understand? So fearing the wrath of Jarasandha, Krishna was very worried because Mathura and Vrindavan are so close. So hearing about all of this, the Brahmins in Vrindavan, under the auspices of the desires of Nanda Maharaj and others, came together and they did a yajna. So when they were doing the yajna, they would recite the Stav and Stuti, and then they would say, may Krishna's head be protected, swaha. May his limbs be protected, swaha. May he be protected by a great fort, swaha. May he be surrounded by the ocean and a great moat, swaha. And as they were saying this, the Brijabasis were manifesting by their desire a place which would completely protect Krishna. They weren't concerned for their own desire. So all the Mathuravasis went to sleep one night and they were hearing the trickling of the Jamuna. You know, kala, 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 kala. Next morning they woke up, they heard waves crashing. They went to sleep in Mathura and woke up in Dwarka. So then Dwarakaha, from how have we come to this place? You understand? Many writings say that Krishna, he desired and therefore he created with Vishwakarma, they created Dwarka, etc. But Jiva Goswami gave the analysis. It was manifest from the desires for the protection of Krishna by the Brijabasis. So really Braj, Mathura and Dwarka are really all one Bhav Swarup Dham. When you look at it from that angle of vision, that Drishtikon. Looking at it from being locales, there's Vrindavan, then there's a border, then there's Mathura, then all the way in the northwestern tip of India, there's Dwarka. The idea, our acharyas have given Sanatana Goswami Pad, we had Vaishnav Toshan, he's also written, that when he crossed the border and Akrura went to bathe, then Vasudev, Krishna and Shankarshan remained on the chariot and went, and that the other Krishna went back in a Avirbhav route to Braj, right? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when they came after they bought to pay taxes to Kamsa once, and then Krishna and Balaram were supposed to stay, but they got back on the chariot in one form, they went back to Braj. So many acharyas are given different things. But overall view is like this, that Vrindavan is a Bhav Swarup Dham. It is not just a locale. Also, interestingly enough, Krishna, who spoke Bhagavad Gita, he was at that time living in Dwarka when he came to Kurukshetra for the battle. But the Gita Mahatmya says, Sava upana sadho gavo dugdha nandana gopala Partha Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta, Dugdha Gita Amritam Mahat. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is actually the milkman of Vrindavan. And that milkman of Vrindavan took Arjuna, just as a cow takes a calf. And by bringing Arjuna near to his heart, he poured out the catharsis of his heart of his separation of Vrindavan in very coded verses, which are 700 in number, called Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita has so many levels. Samanyan, Guya, Guyata, Guyatam, Sava Guyatam. So according to your mood, you read Bhagavad Gita, you get a different understanding. Understand? So the point here being that actually we would think it's Dwarkadish Krishna from Dwarka who's speaking Bhagavad Gita. But the Gita Mahatma says, no, it's actually Krishna from Vrindavan who's speaking Bhagavad Gita. Understand?
Thank you. Very illuminating. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Prabhuji, for everything. So I think it might be getting a little bit late. I think we're just a little over time, but it might be getting late. I definitely want to thank Jai Jagannath Prabhu and all the devotees, but Jai Jagannath Prabhu for the inspiration to come on. I see that there's one hand raised. We'll take that last question, but so much thank you, Prabhu, for everything. I only have one, pet peeve. I've not gotten enough of your association directly. So this will temporarily hold me over until you maybe return here and I can have your association. I've also asked if it's possible, sometimes I've been asked to give class here at the local temple, and Mother Parvati is always asked to have devotees who could on that Sunday to give Harikatha on the Zoom, our regular Zoom. So I've always mentioned your name, and I think she's reached out a couple of times, but perhaps you were busy. I think you were in New York that time, everything. So I'm also praying that you could service to devotees by giving your wonderful Harikatha, and many others, Ayananda. There's so many nice devotees on this phone that could do that. And that will also allow sometime I could give class at the local temple here, because that became an issue that you're always giving class everywhere except the temple here and so forth. And so, but that's it. Okay, I don't remember again whose phone. I know this is from our conference, G7. Oh, hi, Shamji.
Dandavad. Hey, Prabhuji, you often describe how the word Dwarka means, and you give a little purport to it also, that it simply means where's the door. So can you, because you were touching on that topic, can you briefly say something about that?
Yeah, I just did. I had gone over that actually the Brijabasis, they had performed the yagya after hearing about the impending danger that may be coming from Jarasandha and others. Krishna was worried because of the proximity of Mathura and Vrindavan. But the Brijabasis were only worried for Krishna's safety, and in doing that yagya, by their prayers and their aspirations to protect Krishna, they manifested the city of Dwarka. Even though it's written that it was made by Vishwakarma, Krishna manifested it by his power. Jiva Goswami is given this idea that it was manifest from the aspiration of the Brijabasis to protect Krishna. And the word Dwarka means Dwara Kaha. Where is the door? From where has this place come?
Haribo. Dandavad,
Yeah,
thank you.
so my Dandavat Pranam devotees, I'm praying all of you, please give me your Ashibad, means give me your blessings, that somehow or another I can remain in the service of Vaishnavas, and that I can somehow or another keep health to travel next year for Harikatha, and that there's no pandemics or epidemics or any other kind of demics, right? So these things will happen. All right, my Dandavat Pranam, Jai Radhe Radhe, Vanchika Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Thank you for your Harikatha, Prabhu.
Jai Jai Prabhuji, Dandavat, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Sham.